The last session, the second session, we concluded with trying to understand the concept of happiness. Just a quick recap. We said happiness is the very terminus of life. It is the very purpose. Every action one does, whether you're doing it consciously, whether you're doing it unconsciously, there is a constant effort to achieve that happiness. So there's a relentless search in everyone to find that happiness during the course of one's life. On a general basis, we said that majority of humanity have not yet found that true happiness. Why is it that we find that the true happiness constantly seems to elude us? We established that the pursuit of happiness is perhaps where it isn't. Everybody is trying to search for happiness in an extroverted pursuit. The more you go outward, the more you go away from your inner core, you will find that the happiness seems to be constantly eluding. The rare few who have actually searched for happiness within, they have truly achieved it. They've truly conquered it. And those few people who have actually discovered the happiness within themselves, they appeal to us. They roar this truth that don't fall a prey to the external temptations. Don't fall a prey. The famous aspect which is conveyed very powerfully in Ramayana, where Sita fell a prey to the enchantment of the golden deer. Right through, if you look at that episode of Ramayana, as you know, Ramayana is a union between Sita and Rama. Sita symbolizes the ego, Rama symbolizes the true self. The individual union with the self. Sita was very, very happy as long as her thoughts were on Rama. It did not matter whether she was in the comforts of the palace or she was in the rugged jungle. It didn't matter to her because she was in company of Rama. And the only time her thoughts were off Rama, the only time the thoughts thought of anything other than the self was that moment where she was enchanted by the golden deer. And that very moment she fell a prey to the 10-headed monster Ravana. Ravana is picturized as a 10-headed monster. Why is Ravana the 10-headed monster? 10 heads refers to you fall a prey to your senses. You fall a prey to the temporal pleasures. You fall a prey to the enchantments of the world. So as long as you lose the mastery over yourself, as long as you become a slave to the senses, as long as you're attracted to the external charms, you will have to soon realize that there is no happiness which is worthy to be called as happiness, because there is no contentment, there is no satisfaction, there is no true happiness. The true happiness is only within you. The great words of Christ, he said, kingdom of heaven is within you. Alas, we don't search for where it is. We briefly touched on these aspects and then we gave ourselves a question. Right, Ashwati? So let's begin with you, Ashwati.
Yes.
By the way, where are you, Ashwati? Where are you located?
Boston, Massachusetts.
Is there a plan to go there, Anand?
Not right now, but it's close to New York.
Please put that. I want to meet Ashwati.
I might actually be moving to Arizona. So yeah, that might be happening in
See, the moment I'm coming, you're going away somewhere. What is this? This
It's
is
all
very
up in the
bad.
air.
This is very bad. No. Am I going to Arizona?
It's on the way.
Okay, then I will stop
We'll
over.
make that happen.
Yeah. Okay. So please
Yeah,
let
definitely.
Anant know where you're going to be. We'll love to catch up, Shruti.
Oh, I'll come to you. Yeah, Vinayji. Either
Wherever,
way,
wherever,
definitely.
either way. That's nice. Yes. What was the question, Shruti?
So your question was, what is the definition of happiness?
Indeed. What was the even though we started painting a picture of happiness, we really didn't put terms to what truly is happiness. It's not trying to make you scholastic or profound in the technical terminologies, but it's important to understand. Only when you get the concept, get it right in terms of principle, then perhaps we are able to work around it to achieve it. Right. So, what is the definition of happiness? Yeah, please. You have any thoughts? Please share.
So the definition of happiness is the state of peace that it brings you. And when you're at peace, then your intellect functions in a normal way. And then it's like a cycle. So you're peaceful and you're happy, and then your intellect promotes that and thrives in peace. So then you'll find happiness. And obviously it's within. So it's a never-ending journey to pursue it, but it's within.
Very true. It's a state of mind. It is certainly within. It is indeed an unending journey. But just to uh, move away from what we actually started to build, a little further, a little more, is as it were, opening up another layer to understanding what happiness is. Right? Okay. Haraprasad Garu, yes, you're right. You are talking, in fact, perhaps from a very absolute standpoint. Purnamada, Purnamidam, that Purnam, the true happiness, as we said, is real source of that completeness, that fullness, that which is what you are, indeed. As we mentioned, that the attempt is to take this concept from an applied aspect of philosophy. Anand, what is your understanding of happiness? Definition, rather.
Yeah, when your mind is not in conflict uh, with the environment, the things going around, and it's contented, you're content with what's in front of you.
Okay. Primarily, you're saying you're not in conflict with the world. That's happiness, right? Okay. Ravi Shankar Garu, any thoughts? It's easy for me to spell it out, but I'm just trying to have a dialogue. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Hello, Guruji. Yeah, happiness is be in peace with oneself. So, a harmony between what you wish and what you achieve.
True, absolutely right. You're spelling out the actual terms that we would like to we would actually unfold. Certainly, absolutely, you're right. In fact, if you carefully examine, they say happiness is defined as cessation of any agitation. When your mind is devoid of any mental flux, mental agitation, or a mental impulse, that state of mind devoid of agitation is called happiness. Is a state where your mind is peaceful. Now, if you say cessation of agitation is happiness, then the next logical question is, what is the cause of agitation? I don't have to explain what agitation is. Agitation is an impulse, is a state of mind which is agitated, which is disturbed. But what's the cause of agitation? Any idea, RPG? What's the cause of agitation?
It's largely due to unfulfilled desires, Guruji. So
Indeed.
we have vasanas and we go through the process, thoughts, desires, actions. And when that's not fulfilled, then we become agitated. And then we don't know that that's not happiness, but we're not at peace or we're whatever. But yeah, not unfulfilled desires.
So there is absolutely. In fact, we don't have a clarity. We don't understand how that unfulfilled desire is related to my mental agitation. And even the most profound Vedantic thinkers, they make the folly. They fall a prey to this ploy of the mind, and they suffer the consequences. So in fact, as you rightly said, the cause of agitation is your unfulfilled desire. Your unfulfilled desires cause mental agitations. In fact, I would go one step ahead. I would say to house a desire itself is an agitation. In true Vedantic studies, they say having a desire in mind itself an agitation. Just for example, let's say when a desire enters your mind, when you keep entertaining a desire, what happens to you? What happens to the mind? When you entertain a desire, think of a desire that you are wanting to fulfill. So when you entertain the desire, what happens? That the desire starts gaining a momentum. You start wanting it, you start craving it, you start wishing it, you start desiring it. That wanting, that wishing, that desiring creates a sense of an uneasiness, a sense of a void. It causes restlessness until you get that object of desire, right? So every time you see an advert, or anytime anything in the external world reminds you of the desire that you wish to, the desire in you wakes up. And then what happens? Literally, the desire is doing thunder on your head. I want it. I want it. When are you going to get it? When are you going to get it? All the time, it's just wishing and throbbing and wanting, desiring. And all of that is not going to give you any peace, is not going to give you any rest. So the fact that you have desire, the fact that sadly we have not one, we have countless desires, and sadly we keep continuously, recklessly, unmindfully, we constantly keep entertaining desires, thinking desire is a source of happiness. Alas, we don't realize that the desire itself is the cause of kicking out happiness. So you've got to start relating the right idea. We think desire as potential happiness. But what are we saying here, Anand? What is the essential point that we're establishing here? Many people believe desire is the root of happiness. But what we are saying, desire is the root of?
Not being happy. I mean, it's initiating the chain of events that is cascading the events that's not, where you're never going to reach that state of happiness.
Yeah. It's difficult to relate to, right? It's difficult to convince the mind that desire is not happiness. Desire is actually a source of agitation, a source of disappointment, a source of, in fact, if I were to ask you, what is a synonym, philosophical synonym for happiness? Philosophical synonym. Sidhuji, I'll come to you. I know you want to say something. Anand, what's a philosophical
Sorry.
synonym for happiness?
Yeah, I'm trying to. I mean,
Yeah.
it's contentment. I'm trying to see
You're
what's the word
giving me
for it.
the dictionary thesaurus. You're giving me
Yeah.
uh, synonyms from a dictionary perspective. But if I were to say, if a philosopher were to tell you, be happy, what does that happiness mean synonymously, philosophically? My job in this classroom is to be at max a facilitator, make you all think, not to pound you all with this knowledge or wisdom. And to that, as efficiently, if I do that, I've done my job. That's the USP I keep telling you all.
Yeah, it's not coming to me now. I'll
No
think through
issue.
it.
Think along. Look inside. Haraprasad Garu is saying, yes, that's actually you need to look at. So every time I'm asking a question or I'm just trying to build on the idea. So it's just trying to go on one aspect more, giving another dimension more to that concept of happiness. Yes, Ashwati, you said desireless state. Yeah, obviously, because we say desire is agitation. But as you're saying, what does desire do to you? So it's in line with the thought of desire. If you, I'm sure, if you think along with me, you will agree to me that happiness means now. Synonymously, happiness refers to this moment now. So if you ask somebody how to be happy, a philosopher will say, you must be happy with what you have in your life now. If I were to freeze your life at this moment, whatever is the exact time at your place, at my place in India, the time is 4:50 a.m. on the the 13th of May 2024 at 4:51. I freeze my life and nothing can change from here on. And I ask you, measure your happiness quotient with this moment, with whatever condition, whatever situation, whatever life has presented you with. Are you able to find that complete contentment, happiness now? And that's how you got to operate in life. And the opposite of that, what does, so when I say happiness is now, happiness always is in the present. That's the reason they say the very English word is, it's a present to you. It's truly a present, but the problem is you don't enjoy that happiness. You don't open up that present and see what's there in it. You all the time miss it. And what is the reason you miss it? Is thanks to our dear desire. And the moment you desire anything, what does your mind do? Your desire is, if only I get that, I would be happy. Let me get that job. Let me move to that place. Let me get that new opportunity. You're looking at something which you don't have. So desire philosophically means the future. Obviously, desire, you only desire for things that you don't have. You would not desire anything that you already have with you. And by desiring, by falling a prey to your desire, you are pushing your happiness into the unborn future. So, in fact, the biggest mistake people do with reference to happiness, remember this. And you got to ask yourself, do I fall a victim to this? The biggest mistake people do is most people pitch up their present happiness in future wants and achievements. If I get that, when I get there, I hope I have that. And in this process of wanting and aspiring and thinking into the future, you have postponed your happiness into the future. How can I be happy now with future wants, which when future is not yet born? In this process, you keep postponing happiness. People are never happy because they're constantly riding on desire. If the stock market rises, I'll be happy. If my spouse starts behaving well, I'll be happy. If the job security scenario in the country stabilizes, I'll be happy. If my child performs well, I'll be happy. So many things you pitch up, and sadly, none of it is under your control. You're pitching your happiness on things into the future. You are pitching your happiness over things you have no control. So the solution to this mistake is never pitch your present happiness in future acquisitions and achievements. So constantly you got to keep telling yourself, let me live in the present, let me operate in the moment. And how do you do that? As Ashwati passingly mentioned, you got to use your intellect, you got to use your buddhi to not allow the mind to run away from the present. There may be so many things happening in your life, but yet you must learn to be in the present moment. And that's an art. It is truly indeed an art to be able to keep your mind at every moment at the moment. And if you don't keep it in the mind in the present, it will go into the future. It will worry you, it will disturb you. So there's so many things that can be constantly worrying you. There's so many things that can be a source of distraction. You know, I'm reminded of the famous Doha of Sant Kabir. And the Doha is titled as that worry will destroy you. And Sant Kabir ji says, Chinta aisi dakini काट कलेजा खाए वैद बिचारा क्या करे कहाँ तक दवा लगाए कबीरा कहाँ तक दवा लगाए. How long? Worry is such a bandit, he says, it eats into your heart. What can the poor doctor do? What remedy to impart? Kahan tak dawa lagaye? You want medicine to take care of your depressions. You want to medications to take care of your insecurity. You want medications to take care of your sleeplessness. I know people who can't sleep in spite of having sleeping pills. Another beautiful picture that conveys what we are saying. I asked an artist, how do you make such beautiful things from stone? And he replied, beauty is already hidden there. I just removed that extra part. Similarly, your happiness is hidden, as we all have been understanding it's within us. The only way you will discover it is by shedding the unwanted worries and unwanted anxieties and self-created impediments. The self-created impediments, the self-created worries and anxieties are the very reason why you're not able to discover happiness. And it all stems from the seemingly innocuous desire that you are constantly entertaining. You don't see the desire as a foe. You see a desire as your own friend. Oh, desire is something which is going to give me what I want. What I want is happiness. Where is it? In something I don't have. Hey, don't make that mistake, man. It is not there in what you don't have. It is there in what you have. Don't fall a prey to the mind. Don't fall a prey to the Ravana within you. Get a hold of it. Truly get a hold of it. Otherwise, you will indeed be eluded with happiness. Sethuji, you want to say something, sir?
Sir. I just wanted to add that mental agitation cause is also when we go against our conscience with any action we do or any thinking.
when is it that your conscience supports what? Okay, since you brought in the element of conscience here, there's so many aspects, rightly so. Can you tell me when does, since you brought it in, let me open up that question to the floor. When does the element of conscience come in with reference to your mind or with reference to the desire? There is that element of conscience that constantly operates. We are operating on the backdrop of the conscience. True.
The guilt happens also when we go against
Guilt, there are moments where you feel guilty or remorseful. When does it happen? Raviji, do you know what the conscience is?
So I mean, according to what he's saying is, I think, regretting your past decisions or what happened in the past, that also makes you unhappy. Not only your worry
future.
about future, right?
It could be your past decisions or even things that you even do now. Or you say, I wish I shouldn't have done that. I had a
Correct.
choice and I said, I wish I did that, or I wish I didn't do that. So you could feel guilty even when you don't conduct yourself in a manner from your own expectations, not others. You have a certain standard, you have a certain yardstick to follow, and you feel when you don't live up to that, you say, oh, I feel bad about it, right?
That's correct, yes.
So what is
And I
that
saw,
conscience? Sorry, yes, please.
so I think we can say animals live in such a state, right? They don't think about past, they don't worry about future. So that's why maybe they look happy. Birds, animals. Is that true?
I don't know where you are getting us. I'm concerned what is after what I'm more concerned what comes after that. I'm not I agree with you here.
I think that
Therefore,
is the
what is the
state.
conclusion?
So originally, when we are born with such happiness, so that is within us. So as you said, we build as we grow, we become unhappy. That's why children are happy, because they always live in the present. So
Until you take them to
that's
a
a natural
mall,
state. That is natural
until
state.
no, until you take them to a mall or take them to a world out there, is I want this, I want that, and then they start creating tantrums. Then we know what is the Rakshasa you woken up. That so-called peace and happiness, which we see as we say, a child is embodiment of happiness, indeed, you know.
Yes.
But you're true, yeah. See, but animals to that extent they don't have a choice of action. Their life is predetermined, as they say. They lead a life of no choice. They don't either evolve nor devolve. They live a life of a static millennium, as it were. They just go through that phase of life, what they're destined to, and they die. So they just live mechanical. But no doubt they don't have that worry and anxiety, certainly. But if we compare ourselves to that animal kingdom, as a human, we are far superior to the animal kingdom. And what gives us that superiority, what makes us a far evolved creature, is that choice of action. You have that ability to choose to do what you want to do. And in the process of choice, we make a wrong choice and then we commit a sin. The conscience pricks us, and then it starts creating consequences, which is mental agitations or sinful. So the question is, which are the actions? So what are the thoughts that really bother your conscience and cause agitation? Setuji, you wanted to add something?
No, Guruji, I just have a question when you said being in present is art, it can be, can it be cultivated? Because when we, I feel when we evolve over a period, that it becomes easier for us to be in present state. But when we are with full desires and all, whatever effort we put, we can't be in present.
No. I know you're very sharp. You pick up the words I have used. Indeed, I said living in the present is an art. When I say an art in something which we need to be conscious of it, and we need to apply that particular quality. And I said that to be able to live in the present is a conscious art of supervising the mind with your intellect. If you're not aware with your intellect, the mind tends to, where would it go? If it's not supervised, it would either go into the unborn future or the dead past. That's where the mind would wander away. So if you want your mind to remain in the present, it's a conscious application with your intellect. Right now, you're trying to be with me moment to moment as we are in this classroom. It's possible that even at this VR in the early hours, there could be other random thoughts coming to your mind. What would you do when they come passing into your mind? You say, hey, come on, I'll come to you later. You say, pass. I'm trying to concentrate on something. So you consciously push aside those thoughts, those wandering mind, and try to remain in this moment. And that capacity to keep your mind on any chosen action is known as concentration. Even though we say concentration, we don't know what it is. And that ability to keep the mind is indeed something which you cultivated. How do you cultivate it? By strengthening your own intellectual faculty. So when your intellect is strengthened, it starts reflecting in ability to control your mind.
Intellect gets strengthened only, it is proportional to our spiritual quotient. So we have to.
You can generally say proportionate to spiritual quotient, but I'm looking at it as something which you can do now, which you can be mindful now. I can't say again, oh, spiritual quotient, when I evolve tomorrow, that is when I will achieve that. Again, I'm pushing into the future. So I'm looking at it in a way that I can arrest my mind. Rather than falling a prey to my demanding mind, I can always appeal to my mind. Please don't play this trick with me. Don't try to lure me into something which I don't have. You can have a dialogue with your mind. You can appeal to your mind. You can try to win over your mind by saying, please let me be here. Don't drag me away. Don't draw me away. That kind of a conscious process.
I agree.
Not
one of my classmates in school, he was always standing first and he never used to study much in the home. I asked him what is the secret. He said he gives his 100% in the classroom. Uh, that used to make a big difference. Rest of all used to prepare for exam, but he used to give.
Very sharp fellow. So 100% you're able to receive what was given. I think you've done your job. Indeed. So a beautiful saying by Emerson, he says, to different minds, the same world appears as hell, the same world appears as heaven. The same world. What you call as heaven appears hell to another. What you call as hell appears heaven to other. So hell and heaven are states of your mind. The famous John Milton also puts it in his own way. He says that mind in its place can make a hell out of heaven, a heaven out of hell. So all these great minds think alike. It is not to do with your external factors. It's nothing to do with your situations and circumstances, but rather it is to do with what you make of what has life provided you with. I can give you the best and you can make a mess of it. I can give you a very demanding situation in life and you can eke the best out of it. It depends on what your mindset is. Everything can be perfect and yet your mind can create a hell out of it. So it is nothing to do with the external world. It's indeed an inner state of your mind. So happiness is a state of your mind, and it depends on to you what you make of it. As you noticed, even on the concept of happiness, we're looking at it from various aspects. Now, one last aspect, very beautiful, very profound aspect of happiness is to understand what is true happiness, what is false happiness. And to understand this, you may have to look at life from a very different perspective, perhaps a slight shift in the thought process now. When you look at life in general, you find that life is full of contradictions. Everything is contradictory. And you may try to question, why is it that way? Life is pretty strange. And there is a very unique observation. You look at life, anything that is beneficial to you, anything that is for your good, seems to have a very bitter beginning, seems to have an unpleasant beginning. But anything that is detrimental to you, that's something that brings your downfall, seems to have a very pleasant beginning. In fact, anything that is not good for you is very good to begin with. Anything that is beneficial to you is very difficult to begin with. And in line to these beautiful concept, it took a while for me when I first heard it to understand, why is it that way? I don't know. Somebody who has designed the world puts it that way. Anand, can you think of examples? Anything that is beneficial to you has an unpleasant beginning.
A new experience, right, that you haven't done before. When you know, as a kid, when say you're going from 8th grade to 9th grade, you're in a new, say you change schools, changing schools, you're in a new environment, new friends. And that's a simple example, but you know, where you're not done it in the past, it might seem unpleasant at the beginning if you're going on the right path.
You're going back to your early school days, but I want you to remain in the now. I'm telling you to remain now, you're going into the past. Tell me of life now, which is beneficial to you, but is unpleasant to you. Can you relate to your current moment, current experiences? You answered. In fact, you said that anything new that you do perhaps is unpleasant.
Yeah.
Can you think afresh there?
Yeah, somebody get the answer. Oh.
Yes. Ashwati, any thoughts?
Yeah, with it. No, yeah, I was. I think Appa gave the answer. Exercising.
Absolutely, yeah. The problem with wisdom is you can't hold it; it keeps gushing out. Ashwati, any other example?
Yes. So, when my mom comes to visit me, she brings this powder, and it's basically dried moringa leaves and mixed with all this healthy stuff like turmeric and all that. But obviously, it's bitter. It's very bitter. And she asked me to put a teaspoon of it and then put some water and drink it the first thing in the morning. And it's very hard for me because I don't like bitter things, but I know that it's good for cleansing your body and, to keep going. And it's hard, but I know it's good. So I just do it now. Just, the first thing, just squeeze a lemon and put some teaspoon and water and just do it, just because I know it's tastes bad, but it's good in the long run.
No, I know you do one more thing is you curse your mother every time in the morning, first thing you do. I tell you why she brings it. I'm waiting it for it to finish. When is it going to finish? When the day it
Yeah.
finishes up, I can have my my favorite drink in the morning. I don't have to go through that bitter thing.
Yes, but conversely, that means my first thought in the morning is my mother. So that is very special. I think
Even
she'll
if you're
appreciate
cursing
that.
her, is a mother. I know.
Yeah. So,
On a lighter note. So in fact,
yeah.
you're very true. See, what life presents itself is amazing. If we are not taught this, we don't understand. Look at this, what I'm trying to say. If you look at life, you'll understand what it is. Sorrow appears in the mask of joy, and joy appears in the mask of sorrow. This is life. So all that is sorrowful appears to be joyful. All that is joyful appears to be sorrowful. And in this, the Shastras, and in fact, in the 18th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, he actually paints a picture of what is true happiness and false happiness. So false happiness is like nectar in the beginning and is poison at the end. And anything that is of true happiness, my dear friends, is poison in the beginning, a nectarine in there. To live a life of integrity, to live a life of discipline, to live a life of higher values, to live a life of sacrifice, to live a life of serving a larger good. It's poison because you have to sacrifice. You have to let go of your own thought of I and my. You can't think of your own personal interest. It's the most bitter thing to begin with, but end of the day, it does all the good to yourself. The only way you can do good to yourself is by stop thinking of yourself. If I were to tell you, don't think of yourself, so then what will happen to me? In that, all the good you do to yourself is by not thinking of yourselves. You eat junk food, it's so pleasurable, but then you invite trouble. So if you put all the thoughts that we have just discussed, you will truly paint a picture, perhaps not a complete picture because such a beautiful and a broad concept, but you will paint a holistic picture as to what happiness is, what we uh, captured, all those various aspects. Arpiji, you're deep in thought. Anything to share? You are very pensive.
No, Guruji, I think you covered it. I wrote down when you had said happiness, I went to the dictionary book of synonyms, and so the pulling us into the concept, not just a meaning or a word, right? But that the power of now. I think it's a book actually, Eckhart Tolle, and that's very powerful because we always think about it in kind of relative terms instead of this sort of absolute sense of how powerful it is to be in the present. And so no other thoughts other than that, and the Doha was beautiful as well, so thank you for sharing.
Oh, indeed. Thank you. I'm glad. So just moving on into the next aspect. The next aspect under the eternal wisdom, as you would have noted, is we've already spoken about acquisition and enjoyment. We spoke about happiness. The next aspect is how do you relate to the world? So the most powerful aspect of Vedanta, in fact, if you ask me, entire Vedanta boils down to this concept, is how do you establish your relationship with the world? This, in fact, is practical Vedanta. No point having the knowledge of Vedanta if you can't relate to the world that you're living in, right? And one of the most fundamental principles, the thumb rule of how you relate with the world, is on this. And I want you all to take a note of this, take a particular note of this. And one of the fundamental things, I remember, I'll give you the context where it really struck a chord with me. But the concept is, it is not whom, it's not what you relate to, but how you relate to. All the time we are so concerned as whom you choose as your life partner, who is your business partner, what am I relating to? Is it the best quality? We make so much effort in choosing the right person, or identifying the right body, what you're relating with, but having made that choice, you don't end up relating to that partner well. You know, putting the clock back close 24 years ago, when I decided that I would want to get married, my family was looking for an alliance, and they used to bring some proposal, some here, we go and meet one or two people. But my job would be to immediately report that to Swamiji. So I immediately called Swami. Swami say, I met this lady, met this girl, this is a family. He said, what do you do? Then he kept saying, okay, Ra, give me that information. What is this? He will help me analyze. Then maybe, I don't know how many girls I saw, maybe 3-4 girls, whatever came, and then I saw. Then he must have got fed up with me. One day, when I sent to one, I remember there was a girl, the family told us, that was not the reason I didn't get into a nuptial with her, but she said while she was a young girl, we could identify that there was some cracker, while on the festival Diwali time, a cracker splinter had gone into one of her eye, and actually she is blind in one eye. So only one eye she sees. But you couldn't tell that she's only one eye she could see. So of all the things, when I was reporting this to him, Swamiji, she's one eye she can't see, and this is a family. I think, right? Then he plunged into philosophy with me. He said, "Hey, Vinay, hey, it doesn't matter even if she's fully blind. I will marry her. What is the problem? It doesn't matter whom you marry. It's important how you relate to the person rest of your life. That choice you make at that point, whether this person is right or wrong, it's impossible to make that right choice entirely. You can't understand that person in a sitting or two. Even if you spend a time understanding that person, you may not understand. There may be hidden aspects, but it's important. Having chosen the person, it's important how well you relate to the person rest of your life. Though I knew the concept, I knew it hit me so hard when he told me that it's not whom you choose, how you relate to the person. I got to live with the person rest of my life. And having chosen the person, how do I establish a harmonious relationship? So what creates harmony in your relationship with the world is not whom or what you relate, but with what, which means how you relate. When I say how you relate, with what are you relating the world with? So the question is, with what are you relating the world with? Huh? What sort of a silly question is that, sir? Till now you're making sense. Suddenly say with what you relate means what? You don't question the question. Huh? That is not allowed in this classroom. You only have to answer the question. Don't question the question. With what do you relate to? I don't know if SR is there. Your video is off, sir, but are you there? Sir, were you meditating, switching off your video, sir?
No, the signals are not proper, Guruji. Not for any reason.
Okay, sir.
Voice is more clear when I switch off.
I can get you. No, I can take the freedom with you, sir. Jeopardy. So can you tell me, what do you relate the world with? That determines whether you are creating a sense of peace or harmony or chaos within. What are you relating the world with?
Look, the world as what it is,
Okay.
without any judgment.
Okay.
Mean to say more objectively.
All right. Indeed. So what are you relating the world with? There are two things you can relate the world with. You're mentioning one aspect of it.
Mhm.
So when you look at the world, what it is, take an objective analysis. What is that takes an objective measurement or looks at the world what it is?
No, Guruji, I'm not able to get that right.
No issue. In fact, you are very much. I'm only trying to make it very structured. I'm only giving a structure to your answer, which you actually answered one aspect of it.
Mhm.
But once you spell it out, oh, that's what I meant, which is what you're saying. All right? Yeah, Arpinji.
So what comes to mind is the mind. So you can look at your emotion and that filter, or you can look at it through the intellect and reason and thoughts and that way. Those are the two. Your body is, I thought maybe even the body, you're interacting with the world, but that's kind of the vessel for these two other equipments. But you either have a very emotional perspective or you have a more reasoned perspective through the intellect.
Right. So help us understand this, Arpinji. So you relate to the world either through
The mind or the intellect.
Yeah. So when you deal with the world on your mind, when you operate on your mind, what are you operating on?
Yeah, so I had a couple of these situations in the last week. You become very impulsive. You don't filter, right? You go straight from receipt to response. You don't process. The intellect doesn't step in and say, "What are you doing?" Is that? But you're very much about just being very impulsive and sort of desire driven.
Yeah, when we become mindful of this idea, you are able to process every action that you do, and then we are able to visual analyze where exactly things have gone wrong. So you're absolutely right, Arpiji, that when you relate to the world, you can relate to the world on your mind. And I sum up that is when you project your expectations onto the world. So when you operate on your mind, you're operating on your demands, your desires, your expectations, which are all non-rational. They are impulsive in nature. Or you deal with the world, as Srinivas ji has mentioned, you operate on your intellect where you look at the world what it is, not what I want. Whether you want the world to be in a particular way, you want something from the world to you, or you say, what is the world presenting itself to me? There is a profound difference in these two. What I want from the world or what is the world? So when you operate on intellect, you will start taking measurements, you will start making correct assessments. A very, very important practical step you all will, if you start implementing this in your every day-to-day life, if you start implementing this quality of taking correct measurements, it's not what I wish, it's not what I desire, it's not what I want, but rather what is the world presenting itself as? If you don't make this conscious adjustment, you will find you will end up having a wrong relationship with the world. It's not what I want from my spouse. The question is, what is the nature of my spouse? What is her personality? What are her limitations? Rather than saying, why are you not able to do what I want? This is what I want. How can I complain? How can I blame her? How can I point a finger at her, not knowing what her limitations are, what her personality is, or to anything in life? So there comes this very, very important point. Whenever we are in a situation, who is to be blamed? Anant, I ask you this question. Who is to be blamed, sir?
One who's expecting
Sorry, sir?
in this.
Sorry.
This,
Yeah, sorry.
one who's expecting
Are you sure?
them to live apart.
If I have a working relationship with you, and if I am projecting a certain expectation onto you, am I to blame myself for projecting my expectation onto you? Or do I blame you for expressing your nature helplessly to me? Watch out, whom are you blaming here? Obviously you, Guruji, you are to be blamed. Isn't it? Problem is with me. Anant is Anant. Anant has a nature. Who is helplessly expressing nature? What do you know? What is the term that justifies that nature we're talking about? It's a different concept altogether. But you should know at least what do you mean. In fact, even the choice of words, we said expressing their nature helplessly. Kyavasha karma, the Shastras say each one is helplessly expressing their nature. What does the nature mean here?
The reactions, impulses.
No, that is my reaction. Going back again to the example of our working relationship, I can react in a particular way, but you as a person are expressing your nature. I as an individual, I'm true to my nature, right? If you have in your experiences of having interacted with me, having known me, you know, oh, this is what his Guruji is. This is his style. That is what he is. So that nature here refers to the vasanas. Each individual has a unique personality. You have a certain mannerisms, you have a certain lifestyle, you have a certain strength and weaknesses, you have certain abilities, you are able to do certain things, you have a certain personality or a persona. And each one is different. Each of us in this classroom are very different. And what makes us different is not the way we look, obviously, but what makes us different is your own innate vasanas. So the two fundamental mistakes that we keep doing when we try to relate with the world is we are trying to forcibly change the world to meet one's demands. Whether it could be your employee, it could be your family, it could be with the world, you constantly force, you keep demanding that the world fits into my demands. You seem to have a bullish attitude over it. Oh, I am the CEO of this company. I am the head of this department. I am the head of the family, or I am the father to my children. I want my children to do this. You seem to forcibly expect the world to live up to your expectations. And secondly, you bitterly complain when that doesn't happen. And these two mistakes are not going to help you to establish a right relationship with the world. So therefore, the solution we are given is start assessing the unique nature of everything around you. And that's the word I spelled it out here. It's the vasanas. You must start assessing everything around you is very, very unique, is very, very special. Each thing is special. And whatever you have assessed, you must learn to gracefully accept this is what it is. Take a stock of it. Take a graceful acceptance and learn to, and your acceptance must create harmony with the world. Start assessing and start accepting. Two very important steps. You will shift then from expectation to assessment. You'll operate from, rather than the mind, you'll start operating on intellect. So once you make the right assessments, you will be able to align your expectations to establish right contact. So what's the point of assessment? Once you assess, you will be able to align your expectations. Yes, Haraprasad Garu.
Can you hear me, Mahodaya?
Yes, sir. We can hear you.
Okay. I didn't get the word vasanas. Why did you bring that? Vasanas are how are you defining vasanas here?
Right. I'm glad you clarified, sir. As I said, I intentionally not expanded on it because it's a very deep subject and it could take us off our subject matter. But the fact that I mentioned, so vasanas mean that which defines your personality. The vasanas are said to be the very root of our personality. Vasanas are also said to be that which gives you a particular field of activity. Like I may have an inclination towards philosophy. I've been a philosopher all my life. Why am I a philosopher? I am a philosopher because I have a vasana for philosophy. You may tell me, so why have you not taken to business? I'm not taken to business because I don't have an inclination towards business. So vasana determine your field of activity. The vasanas also influence the way you conduct yourself. The code of conduct. How do you conduct yourself? Means, do I bring in a certain amount of maturity to my field of activity? Or am I someone who's very impulsive and restless? Or am I someone who's very reckless to my duties and responsibilities? So I can conduct myself in a very matured way, which is a sattvic way. I can get into a frenzy of doing things, which is a rajasic way, or I can be very reckless to my actions, which is tamasic. So not only does your vasana determine the field of your karma, the vasanas also determine the nature of your action, which could be sattvic, rajasic, tamasic. So in effect, sir, your vasanas is in fact in a familiar way, it is the DNA of your personality. It is that which is responsible for what you are. It is that defines you. In fact, in Sanskrit, the word vasana means fragrance. It comes from the word root vas, which is fragrance. I have not met Prasad Garu, but having spoken to Prasad Garu a few times, I have got the fragrance of what Prasad Garu is. I'm not talking of Hara Prasad Garu. I'm also talking of Hara Prasad Garu. I'm also talking of other Prasad Garu. So there are two Prasads. Correct, Prasad Garu? We have Vishwa Prasad. So we will say Prasad Junior, Prasad Senior. Otherwise, there will be confusion. Correct?
Who is senior?
Sir, you are the senior, sir. There is no doubt about it. How can I be wrong there? Senior in every way, sir. Sir, with no due respect, in disrespect to Vishwa Prasad Garu. You agree, sir?
Absolutely, Guruji. Again, I'm. It's the first time. It's the first time I'm actually hearing you in a discourse,
Right.
and I'm floored. Like again, I unfortunately this time the past 2 sessions did not work out for me because of my other engagements. Today, last time I came to the class at 7 o'clock. It was a Eastern time, and I thought 7 my time, and it was 7 Eastern, so I missed the class.
What a pity.
Again, it is. But again, I'm again this. For a Manda Buddhi like me, it is. It is a lot of information. I will have to just go back and learn a lot of things. With due respect to Varaprasad Garu there, like again. and all the others who have spoken here, right? So again, and then of course, again, you bring a lot of wisdom.
No, I'm glad. No, I'm glad you were here. But were you there from the beginning today?
Yeah, I was there. I had
Okay.
I had another thing going on, so I didn't want to be a distraction in the video, but I was listening all the way through.
Okay, great. That's nice. That's nice. Glad you were here, sir. So the concept I was just trying to justify, Prasad Garu, Prasad Senior. I'm sorry if you can pardon me saying that. So end of the day, the word vasana is the fragrance of your personality, and each one of us are born with it. But yet the difference, in fact, Raviji was earlier referring to animal kingdom. No animal has got a choice over there, or freedom of choice of what they choose. Like you find a tiger is ferocious, a fox is cunning, a dog is faithful. You find a dog is unique to its nature, it'll remain to what its nature is. You will never find a dog, your own pet dog, behaving cunning. Or you may have picked up a fox in the wild, you found a fox puppy and you have nurtured it, brought it home, but it will not become faithful to you. It may still have its very nature of its cunning nature. A tiger is ferocious by nature because that's what its dharma, that's what its vasanas are, that's what its innate nature is. So it is important that we make a conscious effort to start extending this concept, which we appreciate with reference to the world, with reference to things and beings around us. In fact, everything in life has a nature, and everything in life is true to its nature. Remember this. Everything around you has a unique nature, and everything is true to its nature. As Ashwati was talking about that healthy drink, and I'll pick up a box from your mother when I go to Malaysia in July. So I'm going there. So please tell her to prepare one and keep for me. I'll pick up a box or two.
She has plenty of stock because my sister, brother also comes. So she has like a existing stock and she disperses it every time we visit. So
as you know, those of you who don't know, Yamuna Ma, she is such a motherly nature. She'll pamper you to the core. And every time of my years we used to live there, she used to bake such wonderful cakes. And I tell you, she will bake such wonderful cupcakes and deliver them, because I remember my daughter, she used to love them. And we used to get hordes of these coming every now and then. I wish she sent some of this Karela or that powder also, So now I'll tell him, please give that powder than the cupcakes. Beautifully iced, decorated. I used to ask her first when I saw that, I said, Ma, where did you buy it? It is so professional. Perhaps one of the best bakery stores would be selling it. But she would have actually, she said, no, Guruji, I've baked it with all my love, and you could feel it. You understand the nature of bitter God is its bitterness. You don't complain. The nature of sugar is its sweetness. The nature of summer is its heat. The nature of winter is its cold. Everything around us has a unique quality to it. But the problem is we don't extend the quality. Just like everything around us has a unique nature, even humans also are helplessly expressing their nature. But when we come to that, we don't make that assessment of who the person am I dealing with. And by not making the assessment, we make the mistake of projecting an expectation onto the person. Again, I ask the question, who is to be blamed? The person who is expressing their nature helplessly, or the person who's expecting them to live apart from their nature? I blame myself for expecting them to be other than what he is. I know a father, a good friend of mine. He constantly complains of his teenage son. He has got a teenage son. He constantly complains that this fellow is immature, this fellow is indisciplined, he doesn't know the value of all that has come his way. That is a fact of life. He's His assessment is my son is immature, my son is irresponsible, my son is indisciplined. And his expectation is, I want my son to be mature, I want my son to be disciplined, I want my son to be responsible. Is it possible for him to be happy and contented, Raviji? There is a difference between a fact and his expectation.
That's correct. Yeah, there is no way. But I want to add one more thing here. So it can work the other way also. So you can think in your interaction with the world, you may think you are not meeting the expectation of the world. So the world is expecting something from you around. You would like to change yourself according to that. That also may cause hesitation, right?
To whom? To the world or
to yourself?
to you?
To yourself. Again, to yourself. You can do it to yourself. What you are doing to the world, you can do it to yourself also from the world.
But let's say in this context, I am the world, we are all the world for you in this moment, and you are the person. Yeah. Are you scratching your head? What is this classroom expecting from me? What should I do more? What should I do better to add to the decorum of this classroom, or to add to the quality of this classroom, or add to the wisdom in this classroom? Are you unduly worrying, sir? Or are you just being yourself as what you are?
Yeah. Not specific to that class, but in general, we do that.
I'm bringing a reality to the question, to the context.
Yeah.
And throwing a light, is it right to do that way? If any of us do that, would it augur well for our own peace of mind, sir?
No, that's true. But you may look at that way. You may think that is called peer pressure or something like that. See?
Self-created?
Yeah, self-created.
Why would you want to do that? It's important. So how can I get into your minds and see what are you expecting out of me, when we have established that you should not operate on expectations? I would not want to operate on expectations, nor would I encourage you to operate on expectations. If I have, let's say, sir, if I have a certain expectation from my team, the team that I deal with day in and day out, I rather make that expectation as realistic as possible, right? I know the limitation of my team, or I know the strengths of my team. I know what I can achieve with the existing resources. And I can say, in this, I can reach a certain desired goal. With this, I can achieve certain results. So keeping my expectations as reasonable, as realistic as possible will only help you achieve favorable goals, will help you relate with the world well. Otherwise, you will going to have serious disappointments.
That's correct. Yeah.
So rather than me worrying what the world is expecting out of me, let me understand what am I expected to do well, considering the duty demands from me, and play my role well. Yet you should lend your ears and see, is everything going well? Am I doing as per what I am expected to do, not what you all expect from me? So there has to be a dynamic dialogue, but not to dance to the tunes of what the world expects from you. Nah, don't do that. You will be like a chicken without a head running, trying to cater. So it's actually, let me put this way, it's actually human weakness to try to cater to the impulses of others.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a weakness. So people fall a prey to human weakness, to just fall to what others want you to do, rather than being true to myself. So I have a personality, I have a goal, I have chosen this field, and I can't just be doing what others expect me to do, which may take me off my course. And that's where your conscience comes in. Like we Sethuji brought in the concept of conscience. I must be true to myself. As Shakespeare says, thine own self be true, and it must follow as night the day. Thou canst not then be false to any man. When you are true to yourself, that is when you're not false to anybody else. So rather than being true to others, learn to be true to oneself.
Yes.
It's very, very important, sir. Very, very important. I'm glad you clarified, but it's not necessary that one should keep dancing to others' expectations. See if the others' expectations are realistic. At times you may have been unmindful. And if somebody's expectation realistic, you can say, I'm sorry, it didn't strike me. I would align myself. I would include into my actions and things like that. You would consider. I just overstepped a couple of minutes, but I would just like to conclude a very beautiful saying, a very beautiful Japanese saying, actually. A very beautiful Japanese saying which says, you measure twice, but you only cut once. This is what refers to make sure assessments are so perfect that your actions will always be perfect to your measurements, perfect to your assessments. A perfect example can be to the tailor. You go to your tailor to stitch your suit or stitch your garments. Before you cut the fabric, he makes sure your measurements are right. And once the measurements are right, once you wear that suit, sir, it fits in perfectly. The shoulder, the length, everything is perfect. I am very presentable. Thanks to your precision. You would say, sir, I've just followed this principle. I measured twice, I cut once. Means my assessment is so perfect. From the time I measured and the time you came back, you have not put on weight. If you have put on weight, then the measurement would have gone wrong. You say, stitch another garment, you'll say, I'll take with fresh measurements. So if you learn to operate on your intellect, if you learn to operate with wisdom, if you learn to operate on assessment, you will establish a right relationship with the world and you'll put a cap on your expectations. There is a beautiful Jamaican saying. It says, take what you get until you get what you want. You must learn to gracefully accept whatever comes to you in your life. You first take what you get from your actions. Whatever you get in your life, take that first. And then you can perhaps dare to ask what you want. And this concept of relating with the world actually links to the next concept on managing stress. When we come back next week, I will go through it. And rest assured, the next 3 sessions, we will touch on the other salient aspects. You would have got an idea how profound the text is, how profound the wisdom is. And we can spend a number of hours trying to eke out its applicability to life. So these 6-week sessions are only an attempt to give you a taste or flavor as to how profound this wisdom is and how it can enrich our lives. So I hope to see you all again in the 4th session, the next Sunday. The timing has remained all through the same, so it'll be 4:30 a.m. for those who are in India and 7 a.m., right? 7 p.m. for you all in ET time, right, Anand?
Yes, that is right, Sashi.
7 p.m. ET time. All right. So until we see you all again, take care.
It's, yeah.
Yeah. Anything, Anand? Sorry?
No, it's 4 p.m. Pacific in the West Coast and 7 p.m. in the East Coast.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.